I started thinking about fishing around the Brexit referendum. There seemed to be a narrative about fishing quotas and our relationship with neighbours and whose fish was whose. And that kind of caught my attention in terms of identity, community, heritage, and it all became quite emotional about fishing. So I got an award to do some research, and I took myself around the coast of Scotland with my children just to find out who was doing it, who were these people, who fishes today, and are they still, there's a sort of in my mind, there was a romanticized version of communities sitting outside their front doors, fixing nets and sharing stories and sharing challenges. So when I was doing my research, I felt that I had to be part of the communities a little bit in order to engage with them. Do they still have superstitions that they carry before they go out? How do they see this new landscape? How do they see Brexit? That was something I was curious to find out. Who buys the fish that we catch here? And then as I was walking around the harbours, I started to notice these colourful bits of ropes and nets and rubber gloves and crab shells scattered around. So I just started collecting them for the colours and the textures. So the work developed like that, organically, through being in the environment. And as I was doing that, the ideas developed, and I thought, well, I might use this piece of rope actually, because it was a bit of, not a departure, but a development from the more painterly pieces that I had been producing before with lifting. But lifting had a little bit of texture in it already, so I think it was just a natural development. And then I found myself back at home, not in the sea landscape, and having to remember the smell of the sea and the spray and the noises and the colors and the rhythms of that space back in a more woodland, I would say, environment where I work. So in my walks, I started to look at things, the leaves and the twigs and the cones, and going, ooh, that would make a really good lobster tail. Oh, that's exactly like a crab bit. And collecting that and mixing those two elements together to create the images that we see here today. In my garage as well, I found all these really interesting bits of metal and hinges and tools and screws and things I didn't even know what they were for, but design-wise they were really interesting, and that connected me back to the shipyard, the noises and the metal and the cutting and the fire and that kind of drilling. So I've combined all of that, and I guess that's what we see here today. Enveloped in all of that, there is my spirituality, if you like, and my sense of connection with the divine and stories that you told and that stay with you. And Christianity has always been the background of my growth, if you like, and Christ and the stories that the Bible tells us, and the fishing that is present there, and the fisher of men. So it just sort of came like that. Every artist that grows up with a Christian background at some point may think about, how would I render Christ? Who is Christ for me? And for me personally, from a young age, my connection with the idea, the concept, the stories of Christ was to do with, was his humanity, I must say, this incredible, I guess goosebumps, thinking about it, this sacrifice and this endurance and this total belief in this big faith that keeps somebody going, and this sense of destiny and duty. I've got a job to do, and it's not going to be pleasant, but there is a bigger outcome at the end of it. And whilst I'll do it as focused, as balanced, and as peacefully as I can. So for me, Christ has this humanity and the divinity together that touches my personal life in that sense. You know, it is a figure that I look to and think, right, okay, another challenge. How do we tackle that one? The Last Supper, we have 3 of the disciples there. We've got Simon Peter, Thomas, and Judas. Those are the images I focus on right now. It'll be interesting to see where that goes to. I'm not too sure. I'm just happy that they come together. I still have so many images I'd like to create on fishing, and I would love the work to travel, and I'd love other communities to see it, specifically communities where those stories and this heritage is relevant for whatever reason. So I think there is a lot more to come out, but I couldn't say what. I want people to come and see it and experience it. I want people to look at the layers that are hidden, the little details in each painting, and then create their own stories about it. And do think about our environment, who we are, what we want, how we use things, and our connection with a greater life force. You know, if we are to exist, how do we want to exist? But the paintings are mainly about bringing joy to people's lives. I want them to look at them and feel joy, feel happiness. That's what I want. I just want people to go home and think, wow, that was intense in a good way. That was beautiful. I want to create beauty, even though the work is dark and it is composed of plastic and things that are found dead and discarded, but it is about life. It's about staying alive and surviving, but with a sense of well-being.